right. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Board of Appeals for November 14th, 2018. First case is a continued case, case 1818. Robin Marciello, care of Michael Newhouse.
Good evening.
Mike, so you know that there's only 4 of us here tonight, so you know you have the option to continue or to proceed with the 4.
Yeah, certainly, I think it makes sense to proceed.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
4 members.
So we have 4 members. So, Mike, we continued the case last month in an effort to get some clarification from town council, which we've received, and I think it was pretty clear, and his opinion was very well put to us. So I think that if there's anything that you'd like to add regarding the case.
Did you talk to him today?
I answered a few questions this morning by phone. I've
Yeah.
not seen any kind of bottom line from him, but
Yeah, I think the gist of it was that it was the opinion of council that the land had not come under common ownership, so that we would be able to proceed as though it were a special permit, not a variance.
Okay.
And if that were the case and you were agreeable to that, I think we would need to make a motion to change the application from a variance to a special permit, and then we would vote on that, and then if there's nothing else to add to it, we would vote on the case, unless any of the board members or anybody have anything else to ask you or have any discussion on the matter.
no, I think we went through a fairly detailed account of the history of the property the last time we were here. Certainly, if the board has any questions, or if there are any questions raised by the audience, we're all too happy to.
I think it would be good just to discuss it just a bit, because we actually really never got to talk about the case, whether it was, we kind of really got bogged down on whether it was a special permit or whether it was variance. So just not to skip over that whole part.
Okay.
You would have to pass the, no more detrimental to the neighborhood kind of eye test. And I think that, and if any of the board members have any questions regarding that, they could ask that. But that's really all that I think we would have to talk about regarding the case. So would anybody care to make a motion to change the application from a request for a variance to a special permit?
I can make a motion. I'll make a motion to have case 18-18 changed or
Amended.
amended as a special permit for standard dimensions regulation. Is the
Actually, it would be a different.
It's a under.
Should know
We
this.
have that. Hold on.
6.1.4.
614, section 614,
And then
for a
non-conforming to
demolish.
So, to amend the case 18-18, to require special permit 6.1.4, to demolish a non-conforming barn and construct a single-family dwelling 30 feet from the front lot line where 40 feet is required for property located at 11 Commonwealth Ave.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All right, we'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So
now it's a special
now it's a special permit. So Mike, we want to just really kind of quickly go over the actual house you want to put on there, and I don't think we really even got to that in the last meeting, to be honest with you.
I think you're right, Mr. Chairman. So there's a plan that has been prepared by Land Engineering and Environmental Services that is included in the application materials. It shows a proposed single-family split cape style structure that is, I believe it's 62 by 30. Just had a conversation with somebody previously, and I may have said.
It's 52 by 30, 52 by 27.
52,
Well, actually, footprint's 52 by 26
26.
with the 1 foot overhang.
Oh, and that's with plus the deck. The deck is specifically shown on the,
Oh, I see.
On the
This,
plan.
the 10-foot deck would make it 62.
right, that's correct, yeah.
Okay.
So,
And what
oh, thank you.
size deck?
The,
What size is the deck?
yeah,
Does that
the,
keep it separate from the
10 by 12 deck.
10 by 12 deck? 10 by 12 deck, okay.
yeah, initially, we had submitted the box, and then Ms. Larrabee pointed out that the board has been in the practice of late of showing specifically the deck as opposed to just fitting it inside the box. So it's as shown on that plan. The lot is comprised of 1/3 of an acre, which is a little over 14,000 square feet. That is actually in excess of, not all, but many of the lots that are in the neighborhood. The proposed front yard setback is 30 feet. Other than the front yard setback and the lot width and lot area that is the standard dimensional requirements in the R20, would meet all of the other dimensional requirements with respect to building coverage and side and rear yard setbacks.
So it's just the front?
That's right. So the only setback that doesn't meet the R20 dimensional requirement is the front. But the front is 30 feet. And as the plan reflects, the barn that is there now literally doesn't have any setback from Commonwealth Ave. So we're actually increasing the front yard setback to the order of 30 feet. In terms of the immediate vicinity of the neighborhood, as I said, this would be a comparable lot to nearly all the lots in the neighborhood. It's certainly larger than a number of them that are nearby. And in terms of the whether or not it's substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, I think that neighbors have expressed an indication that single-family home there is more desirable than continuing to have a stable and some of the activities that are associated with that. I specifically note that the folks who are immediately shares a boundary line with this lot, those folks are here and have expressed both privately and I believe at the last hearing support for the application. So I think that speaks volumes about the effect that it has on the neighborhood.
Tony, just one question. It states on the site plan that it's in a groundwater protection district?
Yeah. Then they would, when they take out a building permit, they're going to have to show how they're gonna do that. They still,
Do they also have to come back and get a special permit?
I believe they
for that?
will, Mr. Chairman, and I
You're
wanted
gonna
to
go over
jump
the
in just to
50?
explain the contractual situation. You might recall at the last hearing, I'd informed the board that I represented the applicant in a land court-related matter. She entered into an agreement with a prospective buyer of the property, and their agreement was that she would take care of this part of it, and then they would come back. They're gonna have to file an 81G application.
yes.
So they would file an 81G application, and presumably if there's a special permit under the groundwater protection district, they'll do that at the same track.
Okay.
So then I gotta, so regarding that, would the house would the house have to move if there's not enough?
No. No, that, what they would
Room for
have to do is usually when it's in groundwater, they go over the 15%, they'll put in an infiltrator or something like that. There's usually enough room to do up some engineering for the roofs and
Oh, okay.
stuff like that.
Have you done any site plan at all for the septic at all, or have you done any site work for the septic?
No site work at all, no. I'm not privy to any, testing that's been done, or have they done perk tests and all that stuff?
No.
Okay. So the answer is they've not crossed that bridge, but this process will determine whether or not there's a building lot, which will then enable her prospective buyer to move through all those regulatory processes.
So the only reason that I think that, the septic is, it's a question that we always ask, Mike, because like if I look at the way the house is situated on the lot, currently, if it's a wet area, the septic will probably be raised slightly, right? So it would be more likely that the garage would end up on the other side of the house in order to raise the property on the left side of the house. I'm just, maybe, so when we approve a plan like this, we're approving it as, as submitted. If all of a sudden we've been very picky about these in the past, where we've asked people to put the first floor elevation on relative to the grade, more so on tight lots where they're very close to the property lines, where this one I don't think really fits into that type of concern on my part anyways. But what is a concern to me on all of these cases is when, it is a special permit and we're approving something, assuming it's not detrimental to the neighborhood, and it's not completely defined. So if the house were to change in some regard, where you had to, raise the floor by 2 feet and really substantially changed the appearance of the house, then I think that would be a cause to come back to this board and at least ask for a amendment to the application.
Okay.
And I don't think necessarily that flipping the garage to the other side is really an issue in this case, but those are things that I look at when I look at applications like this, just looking ahead to what's left to do on it, so that you're not stuck with something that you're not going to actually build.
Right.
Per your approval.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that it's I think it's fairly unique that you would have two different parties in a contract handle two different pieces of that
Yeah.
process.
But we've had
but-
cases come before us where they've chose to go step by step. They
Right.
just want to get the special permit to build it, and then they come back later for the groundwater. I think it happened a month or two ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not uncommon.
Okay. So certainly, we would make the prospective buyer aware of the fact that this plan is what they have,
Mhm.
and if that regulatory process requires them to make changes, they'll
Yep.
have to deal with that with the
Okay.
board.
Anybody on the board have any questions?
I'm having trouble understanding the garage from the left and the right side, so you're saying the site, if we approve this, the site plan could change?
No, all I said is that, I think you asked a question about the septic. And when you look at the site plan,
Mhm.
obviously, it's pretty obvious that the site plan has to go on, septic has to go on this side of the house.
Right.
Septics usually get raised.
Mhm.
So if you look at the front elevation of the house, my only comment was if you have to raise the grade,
Mhm.
it's easier to raise the grade on the side opposite the garage, right? So the way the house is situated on the site, this is where the septic would be. So
But the garage couldn't go there?
I didn't say that. There's a possibility that it might be better off on the other side, and should they choose to change the plan, the plan that we approve wouldn't be what they build. And I just think that if they made a change to the project, that they should refile, or not refile, but they should just amend the.
Basically, what he's saying is the garage floor would be here, and obviously, if you're on the other side. you've
If
got
the
that
house
much
flips,
of the- right,
just
you've
to
got- you've got
let the board
back
know that
wall,
it
the
flipped.
foundation you can use higher to backfill your fill against.
So what's the
and raise up.
possibility of that occurring?
I don't know. I'm just making a statement that if it were to change for some reason, then it would be
So when they do a site plan and they lay this out, don't they take that all into consideration?
well, they didn't design a septic system yet.
Then how could they design a house without designing the septic system on the lot? I mean, how would they know? The septic system would certainly have would be part of the house itself. So how would you drop a house down and say, we'll design around the house, and you don't know how the septic system's gonna fit?
Well, I mean, the health department in the other boards will work to approve a septic system that meets the requirements. We've done that a number of times where we haven't had septic systems designed when these applications have come in, correct?
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
it's-
The
Sometimes
thing
we
is,
get them and sometimes we don't.
What this particular application is it a non-conforming lot? Or is it a lot that needs a variance in order to build on it? So
Yeah.
they just want to get that part of the puzzle on, is it a lot? And if they're gonna develop it, can they develop it do they need a variance or do they need a special permit? The design part of it, it could change.
I'm just making a statement that we're approving the application based on the house that they put in front of us. And if the house were to change substantially, then the building department, Al would say, hey, this isn't what you got approved
Right.
for, you need to go back to the board. And that's pretty common from my eyes.
They've changed them when they've actually started to build, and people say, well, I want this house instead. And they have to come in and they actually have to change.
It's just
So
a,
to me,
plans.
the process has always been, at least I thought was, I have a piece of land, I wanna build a house on it. The first thing I get is septic approval, because that's the intricate part that'll make the house go. And then once you get that approval, you build your foundation, you try your septic against your foundation, if that all goes, then you build your house. So I've never heard of, here's an approval for a house, and by the way, it's possible that the septic may or may not fit, but that's okay, we'll worry about it later, but you got your approval to build your house.
The septic comes under the Board of Health and their rules and regulations, and there's no way for us. They might,
Unless we got septic approval prior to, before going to the board.
but they usually don't do that at this part of the
I don't
application
think it has
process.
any bearing on us voting on this application.
Well,
So can I
go ahead.
just, so my understanding is that we are voting on whether or not to approve a special permit.
Permits.
Yes.
The building and hopefully the valuations and like what they're putting, that's gonna come from the next person, right?
Quick
That-
answer, yes, but I would even expound on that a little bit by pointing out, especially in this case, where the road has to be extended under a process that goes through the planning board, which includes things like stormwater management. Those are the kinds of things that, I think, to Mr. Syracuse's point, experienced builders and developers can look at the topography and the elevations in the neighborhood and get a good sense of where a septic system design is going to work and where it's not. And with a case like this that drives whether or not this lot is even viable, by taking this on first, but providing enough information so that if anything deviates from the record that's before the board, a building permit's not gonna issue, they would have to come back. But having said that, to go get a septic design without a lot that you know is otherwise buildable from a zoning standpoint, that's a cost of several $1,000s in a couple few months in the winter season. So I think it is commonplace to deal with zoning first, make sure we have a legal zoning lot, and this is a process that I think is confirming that we have a legal zoning lot for a single family. If some of the assumptions that we're kind of adopting from the builder, and that's where I got this engineer, is the engineer that would represent the builder on the 81G application and all that, and has done the survey. Just out of general experience, I think they are confident it's gonna work the way it's laid out. You know, if not, they'd have to come back to you. And they have to start somewhere when there's a lot of different moving parts, and this is the one that wouldn't waste, you know, a lot of money and a lot of time if it didn't work out.
So, what I'm hearing is, we could vote on this and not have a condition. Right?
What do you mean,
There are
not
no-
have a
there are
condition?
no
I mean, a condition that's subject to a septic design, a septic approval, no conditions, because you mentioned the word condition.
But when you vote on the special permit, you vote on it as presented.
Right.
And it's being presented as a certain house, a certain footprint on a lot. And the lot, in a lot of 17,000 square feet. The design part of it for the septic and all that other stuff, that's up to other departments. This might be a 3-bedroom house, but maybe they get a 2-bedroom design septic, I don't know, you know.
Okay, so my point is, we have another case coming up in December, we all know what it is, that big case, right? We wanted an approved site plan, which included approved septic system, approved road, everything had to be complete for them before we would even think about it.
Because it's a commercial thing.
Okay, so why is this different?
I think, Tom, what we're approving here is we're approving the right to build a house, and that's it.
No, but I'm saying, why is this different from the one that is coming in December?
Because the other one required site plan approval. Site
doesn't
plan
this-
doesn't approve this.
But why would we, they're a special permit.
It's a different
is a-
special permit under a different
different special
criteria.
permit?
Yeah, under a different criteria, yes. Each special permit has a criteria that either gives you by right, or you need to meet certain conditions. Conditions of a commercial property, they need site plan review and approval, they need, these steps that they have to get through before the Board of Appeals looks at it and says, okay, everybody looked at it. If there's any conditions, the Board of Appeals can then put those conditions on that special permit. This here is different.
This is-
What we're
When
saying
I read
is,
the bylaw, I didn't see anything that distinguishes between the special permit for commercial property and residential. I'll read it again. I'll read it again.
if you look under the uses and stuff,
There's
it
also
tells
use.
you under such or such use, this is what you need so many square feet of open space and parking, and there's a whole list of things that they have
So
to.
my intention is to vote for this, there's no question about it. The applicant's been through a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna vote for this, so that's not a problem. But I'm just concerned about consistency, and I've always had concern about consistency. We're either gonna go forward and say everything's met or it isn't. And if it isn't, we do it for everybody and so forth. So we need to, that's the way I look at it. I don't care whether it's a big builder, I don't care whether it's a small town owner. Everything's consistent as far as I'm concerned. And that's the way I wanna see it. And I think that's fair for everybody that crosses the board. So, again, I'm gonna vote for this, but I just wanna make sure that we're consistent. So I need to understand the special permit a little bit more.
Okay, and it's
My bad.
not,
I'll check out the commercial special permit, and I'll check out the residential.
if you look
And
at.
see the distinguishing features between both.
Okay,
Okay.
if you look on this one, under 614, which speaks to the non-conforming aspect of this lot, okay, that's the section that wants the special permit under. The one we're looking at for groundwater protection comes under 6.6.2, 7.7, which is another criteria for that particular special permit. I'm trying to think of some of the special permits that
That's
we give
okay, I
out.
mean, I can get educated later.
A lot of times it's a restaurant or a retail space under 30,000 square feet or a retail space over 30. Each one has a little bit of a, okay?
So can I just ask a question because of the consistency? So don't you think on this, there should have been elevations that we should have been looking at?
There are. Oh, you mean for the,
So,
for grading?
For
and-
just grading and
Yeah,
all
that's all it
that,
is.
like,
It's-
how do we
well-
know where, if the septic's going on the other side,
it's a cut and paste.
how big is it?
Well, I mean, we've seen all different levels of drawings on this board. And basically, this is, to me, it shows a number of steps to the front door. It's, you know,
So they have to stick with that?
Yeah, I'm sad that all my, I didn't mean to cause a whole debate on this. All I was
No.
stating is we were approving the plans as submitted. And if they change substantially, then it's the burden on the applicant to come back and
No, this is
amend
good.
the application. That's all I,
No, I'm glad you brought it up because I just think it gives
I
more
think that's
clarity
probably,
and more
if you remember,
understanding.
why a couple of the board members, when they would, make a motion, they would say, as presented,
That's right.
meaning that whether it's the plot plan or the house plans, that's one of the reasons they did that, so that
Yeah.
if it, like Tony says, it changes very substantially from what's being
So,
proposed.
I guess I'm gonna ask Tony, because he's certainly the expert. So if you got this at a town, would you accept this in any other town as complete?
what,
Would you accept that as a drawing for a build?
I don't accept, I don't accept.
No, I'm saying, based on your experience in other towns, would this fly typically?
Yeah, I mean,
You would? Okay.
for what they're applying for, yes.
Okay.
I
That's
think
good
there's
enough for me.
I think there's enough information there to deem what the project is.
Okay, good enough for me.
So it's, again, it's for the special permit
Mhm.
portion of it, and if, on the building side, for that, if anything changes, they would have to
Right,
come
that-
back.
and- amend it,
Al
yeah.
would take care of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Most times that they're pretty well the same as presented, very, very little. They couldn't make it bigger without coming back. They
can't
can
change it.
the inside could change and stuff like that. That's not anything big, but if they extended, from,
If they made
that's
it
why I was
colonial.
specific about the house size with a 10 by 12 deck. So you do have to be that specific.
yeah.
That's why I told Mike, you can't do a box anymore. You have to show us what's going there.
If there's no other comments from the
So
board.
it's a cape, it's a split cape?
Right.
Split cape,
And I think the elevations and renderings that I saw up there,
Yeah.
the ones that we had seen.
So if we go on this will get you to Florida, right?
Maine.
Oh, Maine, okay.
Oh, we're in Maine.
So let's, with no other comments from the board, are there any comments from anybody here wishing to be heard?
I can't, Mary what?
Vizella?
35 Fairmont Avenue. And while I've heard comments tonight about not being disadvantaged to the neighborhood, I can tell you there's an abutter to this particular piece of property. And one house removed from the Maple Meadow Brook, we are very, very going to be severely impacted by this in a very negative fashion. I can tell you just the amount of water that has come down because of rain in the last couple of weeks. So that to take the amount of fill that's going to be put into that area, and this is only the first of 3 houses that are planned that space back there. This is nothing that's going to make my life anything but awful.
So where's,
is there.
Back here,
No,
35,
yeah, and they're gonna, that's the other part of it.
but she's over here.
She's over there.
So where did they put these two houses? Where are the other houses that they put in? that
And
affect
this is
her?
where the house is going.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to be heard? Can you just show me where 35 Fairfield is?
I think it's there. So, did somebody talk about?
This is the house. Okay.
Is that Fremont?
And this is ours, right?
Yeah. Where are the other houses that they built?
I don't know. They said they would be, she said there'd be more, but
Oh, can't be any more. Where would you put more? You can't put any more if she's talking about over
I
here.
don't know. Mike, is there a lot of fill planned for the site?
I'm sure that there will be some. The reality is, in terms of stormwater management, and I know that the previous speaker may not find a lot of comfort in hearing it from me, but there will be stormwater management to a fairly well in terms of the development here, and I think that folks often find that rather than in this case, a pretty sizable barn that was built in the early 1950s without any regard for stormwater management, that these kinds of things that include infiltration systems usually help stormwater management and runoff, and that's not something that all neighbors always take comfort in hearing, but I think it's true.
Well, I know that, care has to be given when construction is done, not to shed water on people's property, and you can't grade over property lines. There's a lot of precautions that need to be taken, when a site is built, not to adversely affect surroundings. So I'm sure that'll be overseen by the building department and the health department.
Engineering too, because the simple stormwater goes through them, but then also this is in groundwater, so it's like a double whammy on as far as, yeah.
Back here.
Yeah. So they'll be back for all of it, actually, because it's in groundwater on top of.
Can I ask you a question? So see how, is it gonna get paved all the way up the street? All the way to the boundary? I don't know if you can see.
That's what the 81G process is for before the planning board, and actually the companion filing that will come to this board under 81Y.
Why?
So
For the official map.
to what extent stormwater management, paving, width, curbing, length of the paved area, all that stuff is part of that 81G process with the planning board that is the companion to the 81Y.
Is there any wetlands or anything down there? In this, where any of this that's taken place? No?
Gosh, there's
I
none
know
in the
Maple
immediate
Meadow,
vicinity of
I
the
know
lot.
Maple Meadow
I wouldn't
is down
want
there.
to take liberties
Yeah,
on the larger neighborhood, I'm not sure.
okay.
So, one other question. So is the barn actually in the road?
It's right at the line. It may encroach a few inches.
Oh, which
It
is
may
fine.
be
But
right
that's
on the
coming
line,
down.
Yeah.
Anybody have any other questions? Anybody like to make a motion?
Come on, Ray, do something. No, I'm just kidding.
You made the motion originally, so I'll let you finish.
We'll fight over it. All right, so I make a motion to approve case 18-18 to acquire special permit to demolish a non-conforming barn and construct a single-family dwelling 30 feet from the lot line and 40 feet is required for the property located at 11 Commonwealth Ave. No more detriment to
To the
the
yeah.
neighborhood and as plans submitted.
And to be constructed as,
And to be constructed as plans submitted
To be constructed
with,
as presented.
as presented with the deck, of however big
But
that
that's what,
was.
when it'll be in the minutes that it's a 52 by 26 dwelling with a 10 by 12 deck.
any discussion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mike.
I guess we won't be doing minutes because not all of you are here. Dan was here last week, last time. Oh, then Tony, can you sign this as the chairman? So that we can get that out for him.
Can you see your pen? There's a red one.
That's it.
Alright, so that's. So let's save the minutes to next month. Thank you, Tony. Do you know what that is? I always forget them, and I end up having to run down to Dan's house.
So that's the last case, and no
Yeah.
minutes to approve.
yeah.
We'll wait till Dan's here next month.
Yeah,
It is, did we change the date, or is it
no, December 12th.
December 12th is the next meeting?
Yeah, our regular meeting. We were trying to change the November one, and it just didn't work out, so that's why even town council agreed, December 12th, it was
Okay.
too much, the logistics were ridiculous.
Okay. And we're gonna be in the.
We're gonna be in the middle room, so be prepared.
The arena.
But, Tony, what happened to the,
Is that the only case for next month?
the car wash?
That's still in planning.
Okay.
I don't know if, they're planning on being at the December meeting, but I don't think they're gonna be ready.
So we only have the
So
one case?
I'm going to suggest that they don't come because we did it to the detox. We told them we wanted them complete. And I don't believe the car wash is gonna be complete.
Okay.
I'm just curious, because I see a sign for sale, for lease too. For sale for lease now.
So that'll be the only meeting
Yeah,
for
you
next
see it?
month?
I did.
Only
Oh, no.
case for next month?
No, we have 3 new cases.
Does
Okay.
that mean they're
All right.
out of
And you'll be getting that because
Okay.
that I'll be working on this week for the paper and.
We have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.